What's up, y'all? Thanks for checking out the video. Quick update on my grapevine and trellis. As you can see, the Catawba grape is thumping, and these are two different grapevines. This one is a Concord, which is right down there, and it's doing really well this year. It's gonna have some grapes, and the Catawba is killing it. This guy. But it's really big, as you can see. That's the trunk on it. It is a third, maybe even a 4-year grapevine. And this is the first year that it's producing fruit. Those little berries, the little grapes are already starting to swell up on it. There's another one. Starting to get that red color and plump up. You may see some raspberries in here because I got a raspberry plant down here on the other end that has been doing really well too, and these raspberries will be done midsummer or so, but it is loaded with raspberries. Again, this is the Concord with the spiky edges on the leaves. I'm spacing these guys out about that's about 8 foot, maybe a little bit more or so, from the Catawba to the Concord. I've got a Reliance seedless down here that is just not doing well. I don't know what the issue is. Freedom Tree Farms, and this is a Reliance seedless. I probably should have let it go in a pot for a couple years and get big. This is what I think it is. I think that I planted this guy too early, and it's just a little gallon-sized pot in there, and that's it. And the rest of it's red clay. And the Catawba down here is probably a 10, 15 gallon pot, right? So you've got all of that soil in the root ball from the pot, from keeping it in the pot from a couple years. And I think because of that, it's doing much better in that soil than this one's kind of confined and has to break through that hard red clay we have here. So yeah, this is actually a 2nd-year plant. I planted him last year, and it looked like it wanted to grow early on this year. And then I don't know if it got too much water, and all that water set in that hole and did a little bit of root rot damage to it. But yeah, it pretty much stopped growing, had some of the tips die off, and it is gone. And so we've got 1, 2 grapevines. A third isn't doing so good. I may have to dig him up and rehab or replace with something else. That down there is the raspberries. You can see it's doing just fine in this soil. Nice big canes for next year, so it's doing really good. And this one down here is the new addition. So we're gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4 grapevines, all different types, eventually growing up. And I may try to do something as kind of a elevated trellis right here. I don't know. We'll see. It's kind of a work in progress. So because I think that one is just too confined in a small hole surrounded by red clay, and that's the issue. The water gets in there and it'll kind of sit because that red clay is doesn't drain as well as the soil that I use in my pots. So this guy, I dug the hole out and mixed in some Miracle Grow soil. This is a flame red seedless grape. And I picked this up from Pikes. There's been a grapevine shortage. As you can see, I'll tell you what I think this plant is because it's already got grapes on it. But there's been a grapevine shortage. Lowe's doesn't have them. Home Depot doesn't have them. pikes had this one sitting all on its lonesome. And what this looks like is like last year's stock that kind of just sat in a corner somewhere. And that's why I think it has grapes on it, right? Because it just sat around for a few years. Yeah, so we'll see how this one does. Again, I made a bigger hole and mixed some of the clay up with some of the in-ground soil to help the drainage and help the roots kind of expand a little bit easier than that one. And again, I may have to dig that one up, but we'll see how this one does. But that is a flame red seedless. Reliance seedless. That one's not gonna have grapes this year. Again, I may dig them up and put it in a pot and just let them grow in a pot for a little while. This is actually the Catawba on the far end down there. It's just blowing up this year. It's huge. This is from here to over there is 16 feet, 18 feet, something like that. So it's a big one. Now further on down the line here, you can see that the little grape clusters get weaker and weaker, right? Like that's the flowered cluster. That's a grape cluster. As you can see, there's, you know, it just looks weaker than, we'll go closer to the base of the plant down here than some of these, right? But got them all over the place. But yeah, pretty neat. And this one has gotten so big that I've attached these wires to the fence, 3 of them that go across, and they'll just kind of create a mat here across where the grapes will hang under between here and the fence. So yeah, grapevine update. That one is 4 years old, 3 years old, 2 years, and 2 years. Thanks for checking out the video. If you guys have any questions about my grapevine or other things you see in the garden, let me know. Y'all take care.